Yep, just minutes for the employer relation held on April 16th. That was to do with a grievance with our local union, CUPE, and the matters are still ongoing.
Any questions for Jason? Seeing none, we'll move on to KPMG Interim Service Delivery Review Report. Councillor Lyons.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. You'll notice on your desks before you there's a package that I pulled together. I'd just like to go over and highlight some of the items that I found throughout my review of the KPMG's Interim Service Delivery Report. So, like I said, after last meeting's presentation from KPMG, I had the opportunity to do a bit of a dive into that report that we received and also some of the back information that was provided by KPMG and town administration. One of the first things I noticed was that there's several gaps that need to be addressed, and I should preface this by saying that I did reach out to CAO Young, and he has spoken with KPMG, so he probably has some updates on the information that I'm going to address here. So overall, our strategic plan focuses on economic development, infrastructure improvement, and housing. But one of the things I noticed overall is really that the report doesn't reflect any of these priorities. I also want to say that there is some uncertainty around the scope and deliverables of KPMG's contract, so maybe this is something that CAO Young can clarify for us shortly. If you look at your package, one of the first issues that I found is that there really is a disconnect from these priorities that were identified for Atikokan. Our strategic vision remains unchanged from the 2015 strategic plan. Like I said, it emphasizes those key areas: economic development, infrastructure improvement, and really creating that positive lifestyle opportunities for residents. So if these priorities are still relevant, then the KPMG report should reflect these goals. There's also some questions around the data relevance and clarity that's provided. The report uses what could be considered outdated data from only coming up to 2022, and this really doesn't take into account any important developments such as inflation, staffing shortages, or the growing demand for housing in our community. We really need to be using up-to-date data in order to be making informed decisions that reflect our current challenges. And the report should also explain how this data is specifically relevant to Atikokan by considering factors like our community's limited commercial infrastructure and aging infrastructure. So without this context, it's really difficult to draw any sort of meaningful conclusions. One of the other things I noticed was the report and the analysis tends to look at communities that are, comparative communities that are either too large or different in terms of size and service needs. So for example, the towns KPMG selected have different economic bases and service responsibilities than Atikokan. And this misalignment can raise questions about whether the scope of KPMG's work is truly relevant to what our needs would be. Some recommended comparators could include Hornpayne, Greenstone, and we did include Ignis in the report. So this would give us a more accurate picture of where we stand, help us make those informed decisions, and also that would explain why some of our comparisons seem off target. Probably the biggest gap I noted was there's a lack of clear and actionable solutions. So while the report identifies several key issues, it really doesn't explain any specific recommendations or how to address them. One of the things we do need is a clear path forward in order to implement our strategic priorities. There really was weak community engagement throughout this process. 7.6% of residents participated in the survey, with many of those being key service groups rather than individual residents. Without the voices of youth, Indigenous residents, newcomers, we really are not reflecting the entirety of our community. And there really wasn't a deep dive into issues like housing, mental health, or commercial services, all of which would be central to the decisions that we need to make and would be critical to what matters most in our community. So there's also, like I mentioned before, that lack of a clear plan for moving forward. Having that roadmap would really make things much better in terms of how we decide and make decisions when it comes to infrastructure maintenance, housing, and our direction for economic development. So in the concluding slide that I provided you all, there are a few things that I hope that KPMG will consider in revising the report, and understanding that this is an interim report on service delivery review. And this would be ensuring that the strategic goals are aligned, that we're using up-to-date local data, we're comparing with communities that face similar challenges to us. There's concrete, actionable recommendations tied to the findings and strategic priorities. We improve community engagement by possibly conducting even a second round of consultations with more targeted questions. And that overall KPMG provides that practical implementation plan that includes timelines, responsibilities, and clear action steps. That's all from me. Does anybody have any questions?
Councillor Shine.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. I'm just wondering, Jason, have you been able to look into any of this since you received this request from Councillor Lyons?
Yep. So after we received it as per the request from Councillor Lyons, I did forward that over to KPMG, and in fact did have a call with them, and they had an opportunity to review the points that Councillor Lyons had brought up. I think the initial thing that Bruce wanted me to get across to you very clearly was it was an interim report, and like he said, great questions, but he says that was not the goal with the interim report to answer a lot of those or bring forth solid recommendations. It was mostly to focus on the engagement process, the surveys. He says that for the most part, most of the questions that were brought up will be answered through the final reports in the draft strat plan report that's bringing forward. To that point, though, some of the things are outside of the scope of the agreement. When we did our RFP, there was a project charter. There's an agreement with them. For example, to do a second round of engagement is not included in the project. That would be something that we would have to budget for and do beyond the agreement and the project at hand. In regards to the data, that is the most data we have. I mean, we have audited and did our FIRs for 2021. The 2022 data, we still are working with them to correct some of the numbers that they had presented, and we simply don't have more current data internally. In regards to the communities, there was discussions early on with myself and them regarding who to pick, and they had chose smaller communities in the district, Chapel, La Valley, and my concern was they were almost too small. And then the problem is when you get into Greenstone and those areas on that side, distance-wise, different set of factors. So although Fort Frances obviously is a lot larger than us in Dryden, we were just trying to find relatively close communities. I think Marathon we determined was kind of our key comparator, and even them, right? I mean, they're a lot closer to the main highway than we are. So it is hard to compare communities because, as we know, each community is obviously very unique and very different. The strat plan, obviously, yeah, they will be coming with a proposal, draft strat plan with those key priorities, and with solid recommendations. So, yep, they took the information. They said, they're busy working in the background, and they will be coming down in person to present some more information, hopefully by the end of the month. We don't know those dates yet, but hopefully by the end of the month.
Ultra Shine.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. So, Jason, my question then would be, so once they bring the final report to us, does that necessarily mean we have to accept it, or we're allowed to ask for, and would it have to be a budget item if we want further information before we accept it?
I think there's still an opportunity to back. I mean, they're not going to just say, here's what we think and walk away, right? I mean, I think that there's an opportunity to have some discussion so that you guys are, in fact, happy with the plan that you're left with. it's to go beyond the scope of the project would incur additional costs. So if you know, you want to implement some of the things that they had recommended, or if you wanted them to do a bunch of different work for you that was outside the scope, it's outside the scope of the project, so there would be a cost involved in that.
Councillor Lyons.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Johnson. Jason, would it be possible to get a copy of the project charter so we can better understand what the deliverables of this are?
Yeah, I think I had sent it to you originally when you had.
It must not have come through, but if you don't mind resending it, maybe to all of council, that would be great.
Any other questions? Councillor Knowles.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. I'm just wondering, as far as further stakeholder engagement, community engagement, I know through my line of work that usual response rate is about 2 to 10%, and that's 10% usually comes with incentive attached, which I don't believe the municipality can offer. But what would the cost be from the consultants to do that with targeted at some of these underperforming groups where some of that data might be quite relevant, as Councillor Lyons has pointed out?
Yeah, so we had a lot of discussion regarding community engagement and what would be the best way. As everyone knows, the town itself has not done this. I mean, I've been here 17 years, Brandy here's been here longer. We haven't done this before, so this is new for us. And, you know, there was talk of, like, you know, the old-fashioned town hall with the microphone set up in the middle there, and it was quickly said that's probably not a very productive way to do about that. So I had lots of conversations with the consultants regarding focus groups, because that's where I felt you have key engaged people of the community that, you know, have specific interests. They did meet with a lot of those focus groups, and then as Matt had said too, a 7 point, you know, just under 8% engagement is kind of typical for them. A lot of extra work and a lot of money for who knows how much more information to get back is the response.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. Not so much a question, but a couple of comments on this. I may have missed it, but did they compare any property taxes? They compared a lot of things, but I didn't remember seeing that property taxes, like what ours were compared to all the other communities, that they compared us with other things too.
So we've done that work before ourselves. I don't think there was a specific slide for that, but Brandy does have a group, and there are a lot of discussions in the region regarding where we fall in that. Okay. That's something that we could probably do for a future meeting.
Yeah, it would be nice to know where we land compared to property taxes in those communities that they're comparing to. The other thing was regarding the low input for the community. Maybe if we had something set up at, say, the Bass Classic, and had some, you know, had a booth there, and we could ask people, have some predetermined questions, you know, what we're doing for the community, what's the path forward. Maybe at a big event like that, we could capture and get those numbers up. I don't know, that might be too late. I don't know when all this is gonna, you know, when the deadline is for this stuff, but just to get some more community engagement. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's an ongoing conversation. I think that we've made that initial step, which, like I said, we haven't done for a very long time. So at least I think we're having our citizens understand that they have a voice and we want to hear from them. So I don't disagree that in the future, setting up avenues or opportunities for citizens to bring that forward is a great idea. I think in the scope of this project, I think that we've moved past that. Yeah. But I think that the initial work has been done, and I think that it would be smart of council to have that mentality moving forward, is to create those opportunities for our citizens. Yep.
Yep. Thank you.
Councillor Ferguson, or Mayor Ferguson, I'm sorry, you had a question?
Yes. Thank you, Chair Johnson. Just more of an observation or a statement or whatever. When you do a strategic plan, it kind of identifies the issues that you want to tackle in the town, but it's not really fair or realistic to have KPMG tell us how we're going to fix our streets or repair the infrastructure or engage the town more. It identifies the need, definitely, but you know, anytime you do anything like this, a strategic plan, it's up to us to take those priorities in the council and the town and administration makes the decision on what we're going to do. It's not up to KPMG to say, you know, to get us grants or to say this is where your money should go, or these are administration and council along with the community's decisions to do so. That's the danger of any strategic plan. It's never a silver bullet that's going to solve all your problems by engaging these guys. And I've been through strategic planning for a long time, and you never get, unless we identify how we're going to do it, and they lead the exercise. It's really not up to them to tell us how to fix the streets or anything like that.
Councillor Lyons.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. I just had a couple questions, but maybe I'll start with responding to Mayor Ferguson's statement. In looking at other strategic plans across the province, and I'll give a couple of examples, Wawa and Tay Valley, which includes Perth, located between Peterborough and Ottawa, which has a population of about 5,000 for that township. Those are just two that come to the top of my mind that I looked at. Every strategic plan at the back of it has stipulated recommendations, prioritized lists, and not so much the details on, okay, on this date we shall do this by, you know, Councillor Stimpson. But it does give that path forward on things to consider and prioritize. Now, mind you, as we spoke of at NOMA, it doesn't take into account the fires that we have to put out, those urgent needs. And as we learned there as well, there is a need to pivot and adjust our plan accordingly. This is a dynamic plan. It's not intended to sit on a shelf, but it is intended to be a useful tool for council to guide our decision making. So that leads me to just two other brief questions for CAO Young. The communities that were chosen, why were they chosen to be so close to Atikokan, like geographic proximity to Atikokan, as opposed to potentially other rural communities within Ontario that may be off a major highway route, have similar populations, and that?
Historically, what we found is that the issues specific to Northwestern Ontario are sometimes very different than the communities in Southern Ontario, or more east to us. And time and time again, we have found when doing comparators that looking at the region is almost more important than factors such as distance from major highways and population based. So then it was then it was a matter of, okay, so then within Northwestern Ontario, how far are we willing to go to do those comparators? Okay,
yeah, because one of my questions was resource sharing, for example. That would be something that wouldn't be unique to Northwestern Ontario, but it could be anywhere within the province, or not that we'd go beyond Ontario because of our political climate and such, but that could be something that could be considered for analysis when we're looking at Atikokan or anything else. So not so much the geographic and the issues per se, but some of the things that are fundamental to town administration and the municipality as a whole. And the other one was, I'm sorry, I didn't catch it, but Councillor Knowles had asked about what the additional cost for engagement would be should a second round of engagement be considered by council. Do we have an understanding of what that cost might be? And if not, could council be provided with that?
Yep. So I'll jump back to your resource. We have had many discussions over the years regarding resource sharing with our neighboring communities. I know west of Fort Francis, and again, very close by, there's been not very many successful stories. I know they have tried. We are very unique in our remoteness, and we have yet to find a good formula that works for resource sharing, but it is always on the table and having these discussions. Your question regarding additional engagement, I mean, that is sure. I mean, it's a budget item, and yeah, we can certainly get a quote and present that if council's interested in doing that. Sure.
Councillor Stimpson.
Thank you very much, Chair Johnson. I'm just wondering if we don't like when it comes to the final copy, and we ask for some changes, will they charge us more for making these changes?
So the goal of KPMG is to obviously to leave their clients satisfied, right? So as part of this project, they want to make sure that you guys are left with a strategic plan that you feel is useful and it helps. I do not believe that they're going to try and push something on you that you are not going to wholeheartedly want
Okay,
to.
no, I'm just wondering if they're gonna come and say, here it is, we're done, and that's it.
No, the answer, short answer, no.
Treasurer Coulson, I'm sorry.
Just to expand upon the dates for 2022, I'm going to assume they picked 2022 because it had more communities to compare. 2023, there's like 9 municipalities that don't have 2023 done, or 24. So in order to do comparatives, there's one municipality that their last FIR is 2019 uploaded. So I'm assuming that's why they picked 2022, because 2023, there's a lot outstanding yet.
Okay. Sorry, if you don't mind, you said there were 9 that didn't have their FERS up to date in 2022?
23,
Sorry,
there's
2023.
9 outstanding, so then 24, there's only a few that actually have it.
Oh, okay. So how many, is that out of how many municipalities? Like 400 and?
No, that's in northwestern Ontario. So
Oh, Northwestern
in
Ontario.
would be a lot more, right?
Oh, okay, so by
This is
focus,
just northwestern Ontario.
okay, so by focusing on Northwestern Ontario as a whole, we are restricting the pool that we're, of our comparators, essentially.
Yeah, I don't believe they had anybody on there that wasn't in northwestern Ontario.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that. Thanks.
Councillor Knowles?
Thank you very much, Chair Johnson. I'm just hoping, perhaps in the spirit of pushing all this along, that whether it's in the contract delivery or through the good graces of KPMG, that we can have a meeting with them prior to the final product going out, where we can kind of go over these things and have a chance to review it before a final version is presented to council. So if there's anything that gets anybody's neck hairs up, it can be dealt with appropriately. Thanks.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Any other questions? Okay, moving on. Thank you, Sarah. Councillor Lyons. Feedback on interim delivery. Report to council funding request. That's in finance.
Yeah.
And it's OMPF, OC, ABC. Can you make them things in long term so we know what there are, instead of just putting the little numbers?
So Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund.
Farther down in the report it is.
What?
It's in the report itself.
Okay.
So it's Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund and the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund.
I'm sorry.
So this, I have a resolution going to council. It's basically to get the ball rolling on our funding. I had anticipated to have everything submitted by now, but with the delays in the audit, it's going to take a lot longer than expected. So everything at the government takes forever. So I just want to get the ball rolling and try and get us back on track.
I have a question, Brandy. Why are we behind on the information that is required for this?
So that's part of our audits. Like, so when we do our audits, we submit the financial information returns, and because we're behind in our financial information returns, they've held our funding.
Okay. Councillor Stimson?
Okay, thank you, Chair Johnson. So they held our funding because we don't have our audit done, and now we're being asked to pass a resolution to release it.
Yeah.
Is that okay with them?
Yeah, well, that's what they usually require, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying though, they usually require that the audit's done. Our audit's not done. So are we legally, can we legally say, okay, we're going to take that money anyways now? We're going to release that money now and use it? Or Is it a stipulation that you have to have your financials done before you can release the money?
Normally, yes, but the last time this happened was before as treasurer, and the funding was never stopped, and they were years behind. I don't know how that all happened, but I've been dealing with municipal affairs, and this is what because I also mentioned that we could file the FIRs and then just revise any data that was different once we completed our audits, but that would require extra work on municipal affairs and on us, so they suggested this route.
I don't know, I think maybe we, I know it's a lot of work, but I hope the councils in the future make sure the audits are done on time, and we're not having to be behind. I'm not going to be here, but I sure hope the councils of the future, next council, make sure that this is done, because I don't know, it just seems, if the government says you don't get your money until you're done, can municipal affairs say go ahead and take it? I don't want to see us getting fined again.
No, this is us just requesting them to release the funds because we have a plan in place and everything's.
Yes, but where you have a resolution that you want us to okay to release the funds.
No, we don't have the funds to release. We're asking the government to release the funds.
Okay, we're asking it, so they don't have to say yes.
No.
Oh, okay, all right, good.
Yes, CAO Jason.
Thank you. Just for follow-up, so the government and the funders putting rules in place, right? So that, like you said, they want municipalities to stay current. But there are opportunities to have a discussion with them. They want to see what's the plan in place, where are you at, what are your roadblocks. So Brandy's in constant communication with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing to work out that plan. But they do have their benchmarks and they do have their rules. So what we're doing is asking council to provide a resolution so that Brandy can take that to the ministry to say, we agree, we're granted that we are behind, here's our plan, here's our timeline. We need the money to do operations. There's no fine. You don't get a fine for being late. They withhold funds until that you get current.
No, okay, I just was wondering if we did it and we weren't really allowed to do it until the audit was done, then.
No, it's a conversation with the ministry.
All right.
Councillor
I'm
Lyons.
above board.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. Through this conversation, I'm seeing a little more clarity, I think, but Brandy, I'll ask you here. So we haven't actually had our funds withheld from the ministry in the past, is that correct?
Not that I'm aware, not since I've been treasurer, no, but, and
Okay.
before that, I know we were behind years when we did a software transition.
Okay.
But I don't believe our funding was ever held, and I don't know how they got away with it, but.
With not withholding?
Yeah, I don't know if the treasurer at the time wrote a letter prior to it being withheld or what happened, but.
Okay. CAO Young, do you happen to recall prior, with your previous experience with the town, if that?
Brandy was the deputy treasurer. I was not at that time.
Okay.
But yeah, I can concur that we were multiple years behind.
Yeah.
But we were able to I mean, the ministry doesn't want to penalize you in the sense that, they want municipalities to pay their bills and pay their workers, right? It's a safeguard to make sure that you're doing everything in your power to stay current. And of course, like Brandy said, there are a lot of municipalities that, for a lot of different reasons do get behind. So that's just kind of the process we're in.
Okay, so obviously because we are several years behind now, post-COVID, and the ministry has provided us grace in providing those funds directly without withholding any, they're obviously seeing the seriousness of our current situation. Would you agree by withholding those funds now?
Yeah, so there's deadlines,
Yeah.
right? So if you don't meet those deadlines, then they start withholding.
Yeah, so what's the rationale behind having a council resolution in order to request the ministry release those funds to our municipality?
It shows that council supports requesting the funding.
Okay, so we're requesting funding, additional funding without audited
Not
finance.
additional, it's money that's owed to us
Okay,
that they've just held. It's money we've spent.
Oh, okay, so we've already spent this money.
Yeah, it's our annual operating funding, and it's our OCIF, which we do capital works with. So we've spent this money. We just haven't received it yet. They're holding it until our FIRs are submitted, which are now going to take longer because of the audit delay. So I want to get a head start, and everything takes so long when you go through these channels.
Yeah. I have to say, I have some significant concerns about this, particularly about, you know, I've been raising the issue about the FIRs not being posted, the audits, et cetera. And, you know, now that the ministry's coming down and withholding funds to the municipality, and to learn that we've already spent those funds is deeply, deeply concerning. I guess what I would like to see is, you know, it laid out this plan that we're going to adhere to in order to get the audits complete, the FIRs, and also how we're not going to end up in this situation in the future with clear deadlines in place for council to review budgets, et cetera. Yeah, beyond that.
This is an abnormal situation. This is the first time this has ever happened, well, since I've been treasurer.
For sure, but it could happen at any point if we're not up to date on our FIRs. Is that not correct?
Yes, but what I'm saying is, in normal operations, we were never behind. We were never.
But we have been behind in the last 5 years.
Yeah, now we're behind.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, leading up to this was never a normal situation.
Okay, sorry, I'm misunderstanding. What's the normal situation?
The normal situation is we get a preliminary audit in October, November, and then we get our year-end audit in March.
Yeah.
Schedule has been all out of whack because of all the everybody being behind, and so everything's just out of whack. And then now my concern is I had expected to have 22 and 23 done by now. Now that's not even going to be audited until July. So my concern is just, it's now taking even longer than originally anticipated.
But that's still carryover from previous years that we were behind in, is what I'm stating, correct?
I'm not sure I understand.
So
in July, we're going to get 22 and 23 audited.
But typically you would have your audits for 2022 done in 2022, or sorry, in 2023.
Yes, normally, yes.
Yes, so what I'm saying is in 2025, we're behind for 2024. In 2024, we were behind for 2023, and carrying all the way back to COVID.
Yes.
And we were lucky that the ministry didn't come in and withhold funds at those times. But now that we're still behind, they've determined after 5 years, or however many it is, that they're now withholding the funds.
They extended all municipalities' timelines because of COVID, because everybody was behind. So
yes.
They extended it and extended it and extended it, and then finally just went back to normal. But many municipalities are, like I said, for 2023, there's 9 just in northwestern Ontario that don't have them done.
Okay.
So it's
yeah, I think when I looked, there were 11 for the province for 2022. 2023, sorry. I could pull it up too.
Yeah, I don't know. I just know there's 9 in northwestern Ontario. I didn't look elsewhere.
Okay. That's all for me for now. Thanks.
Mayor Ferguson, did you have a question?
Yeah, it's more of a statement. The agenda said to pass a resolution requesting them to release funds. So I think we're getting off in the weeds on why things are the way they are, as opposed to discussing, are we going to pass a resolution for Brandy to request the funds? So I think it's more of a yes or no question than debating what happened in the past. We are moving forward. Brandy's been working with the Ministry of Housing. There's going to be a plan going forward that she's going to present to the ministry. So I think it's really, the question is, are we going to say yes to request the funds, or are we going to say no, we're not going to? And then we can discuss where we're at and why we're at a later date.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson, for those comments.
in order.
CEO Jason.
If I can jump in just to make a comment, Councillor Stimson. I just wanted to reply to Councillor Lyons' comments. When you said the term that we got lucky that they've held back, it's not a matter of that. We've been having meetings with the ministry for several years now with a laid-out plan that they were happy with. The problem is that, like they said, it's not specific to Atikokan, it is specific to the funding, where they say, look, if you don't have it then this is the ramifications of that. It doesn't mean that a municipality doesn't have the opportunity to work with the ministry and to request the release of funds. To your point about the timeline, as Brandy just stated, that we have a 3-month timeline where we anticipate getting 2 more years brought forward to council, and then we would just be looking at 2024, so we would be several months behind versus several years behind. Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Stimson.
Thank you very much, Chair Johnson. Brandy, you were saying that this money that this OOMP funding and the OCIF funding is already used, and we have to pay it. We need the money to pay the people. Is this OOMP funding? Is this for this year?
Last year,
It's last year's.
yeah.
Have we got this year's yet?
No. So these are money, this is money that we use in the budget.
Yeah, I know
for
that
our
one is, yeah.
projects.
But the OCIF, that's for the road, right?
Pardon?
Isn't the OCIF, isn't that for the O'Brien Street job and all that?
We did use it for O'Brien last, you can use it for several different things, but no, I'm sorry, the culvert.
Okay.
Councillor Shine.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. My question, Brandy, is if we say no to this, or how will that affect this year's budget? Will we have the necessary funds to move ahead with the operations and things that we're going to need to do, or?
So it won't necessarily affect the budget because we're still owed those funds, so we have to use them in our budget. But it's cash flow that will become an issue because we've spent all this money. We spend all of our grant money for O'Brien and stuff before you receive the funds. So it'll end up having cash flow issues.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Councillor Shine, I don't understand your question. Why would we want to say no?
No, that's what I'm asking. Well, I'm not saying I'm going to say no. I just want to know what happens if we decide to say no, like how is it going to affect this year's budget? Are we going to have to be, as Brandy answered, we'll have a cash flow problem?
Yes, Councillor Lyons.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but I did want to just respond to Mayor Ferguson's comments about delving into the details of the proposed resolution, that it is a requirement for us to, under the Municipal Act, in order to engage in information seeking to make informed decisions on any resolutions. Thank you.
Councillor Knowles.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. Brandy, if we were to support that resolution, when would we expect to hear a response back from the ministry to the positive or negative so we can determine next steps?
I'm expecting it to take a while. That's why I wanted to get a head start, because Municipal Affairs said it could take a couple months.
Okay, that was my follow-up. Are we talking weeks or months? Just in the realm of budgeting and
Wouldn't give me a firm date or anything.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Stimson.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. I got my hearing aids in, and I'm sure I heard you say something about we've used all the grant money up on that job.
Well, yes and no. So,
I thought we got $5 million
what are we
for that
talking
job.
about?
Didn't we get $5 million for that job?
For which job?
I thought Tyler got a grant for about $5 million, and then he got another grant for more to go up. And that's
Depends on which
the
job you're
OCM
talking
is
about.
grant writing, but
Are you talking about O'Brien or Mercury? Culvert?
no, I'm talking about Orion.
Yes. So yes, we have a grant, but you have to spend them, you have to pay your people and pay your contractors before they give you the grant money.
Okay, but we still have a bunch of that grant money left over, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Like we have money owed to us.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
'cause those are two awesome grants we got. And, thank you, I'm done.
Any further questions concerning this? I declare that closed. Okay, go to finance, again, financial period ending April 30th, 2025. Brandy, if you may, please.
Okay, so you have the revenue and expenses up to April. If there's any questions?
Does anybody have any questions for Brandy?
Well, I got a couple. Oh, sorry.
Yes, Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. I was just going through, I just highlighted a couple, picked out some. You want to go?
Sure.
Okay. Waste disposal, actual 91,000, prior year 400,000. I was just picking out the easy ones, the big numbers, the big
What's
differences.
the number beside it?
5200.
Okay, that was capital. That was a capital purchase we had in the prior year that we didn't have this year.
For the garbage dump, or garbage truck, is that one?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Oh, sure I had a couple other ones here. No, yeah, that's probably good for now. Thanks.
No other further questions? We'll move on to Public Works and MNRF Airport Lease Agreement. I guess that would be Jason? Sorry.
No problem. So as everyone, I believe everyone is familiar with the lease with the MNRF regarding the our airport property, and they are getting ready again. So had requested a renewal of their lease agreement. Happy to take any questions or propose the agreement be passed at the council meeting.
Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. With regard to the fuel, is there a way for people to work? That's for call out for fueling. That's not has nothing to do with people purchasing fuel there then at the airport.
No, Tyler.
Yeah, so that's call outs for airplanes or choppers and stuff. We don't sell fuel like to the direct public. Like you can't show up with a jerry can and get some 100 LL or anything.
But if a plane lands and they need fuel,
Yeah, we fuel them up.
and how do they? Is there a way for them? They can't do it. They have to. You have to go up there physically. Somebody goes there physically and gives them fuel,
That's correct. Yeah.
and then they pay somehow.
Yeah,
Visa.
they get invoiced through finance afterwards. We've been working on getting a card lock system and some cameras up there to tighten up those issues.
Okay. There's no Visa way to pay Visa there or anything. It's just a invoice you send out then.
Yeah, that's why we're hoping to get the card lock so we can get like an actual Visa system set up out there for immediate payment.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions concerning that? Okay, we'll move on to Landfill Operations, report to council. Tyler?
Okay, so obviously lots of questions with the landfill going around right now. We thought it might be best to address them in a fairly general sense, just give everybody an explanation on how the landfill actually operates and some background on that. So as you can see in my report, I outlined kind of the ways that this works. So I guess on a high level, right, when we just talk about the pipeline road landfill, you go back to, I think the latest documentation I found was like 87, where we were having meetings on trying to find the best location for that landfill, public consultations, stakeholder engagement, all that sort of thing does happen before the landfill. And then from there you get into a long design phase. So all of that was completed before we got our ECA number 8313, etc. That's listed in the report. So what that ECA does is that is your governing documentation that basically says you're allowed to accept material or you're not allowed to accept material. So fortunately for us, things are very black and white. There is either you can accept it or you cannot. There's no middle ground. There's no room for interpretations on that. So just so that everybody's aware of that. Within this ECA, it also references things like site design, operations in general, things such as inspections, and also like triggering criteria, they call it. So basically, if we have a test result or a situation on site, there's already established protocols for some of the more common issues that you can run into. So it's kind of the general operation of it and how that comes to be. So obviously a lot of questions about soils. When it comes specifically to soils, we have set our landfill up in the way that it makes sense for small volumes of soils to be brought here. You know, you're talking like a car accident on the highway and they need to clear out some of the ditch line, things like that, right? When we start looking at the bigger projects, we certainly get into I guess less efficient for contractors to come here, and that was by design in that we don't typically deal with these large volumes, right? So you can see that through our fees, which is kind of the next section of the report here. And as you guys remember, recently we did go through and up some of those fees fairly substantially, again with the idea being these sort of one-off loads more than big projects. So we have had some contractors reach out recently, several for a fairly large-scale restoration project. And we're still waiting for all the proper documentation and all this so that we can review it and determine if we can actually accept the material. But high-level discussions are still all ongoing. A few requests for discounts, of course. Volumetric discounts, I think, are probably something worth considering when you talk about jobs of this size. So I just kind of also wanted to get council's thoughts on that. Of course, any agreement that we make with a contractor, assuming we're allowed to take the material, would have to come to council for approval anyway, so you guys would have that full input. I believe it would be an in-camera session because it would be a negotiation. We'll figure that one out as we go, but you know, that chance for some open back and forth between council and administration. So still working on that for sure, but I do think it is important to notice just our increase in tipping fees so far is significant just over the last few years. A lot of these are centered around these big decommissioning or restoration type projects, a few new builds of course, which have helped to increase some of those fees as well. But the important thing is it's temporary, so we need to basically not rely on them moving forward, but make hay while the sun's shining, as they say, right? So I guess that's kind of the overview. I'm not...
Tyler, so that we are still in negotiations over the reclamation? Or we're still in talks with them?
Oh, we still have contractors reaching out, yes.
Would it help if council passed a resolution saying that we as the council would accept that?
No, because I don't mean to sound like rude. I just starting to become more aware. But it's not really council's decision on if we can take it or not. So council, I guess, could pass a resolution saying specifically that we don't want it. But the ability for us to accept the material is actually all through the ECA and our approvals from the ministry. So it would be kind of regardless. I mean, I guess people like to know they're supported, but I've already kind of expressed our interest, assuming that the material passes any relevant testing. So.
But they haven't given us a hard no.
Well, it's up for us to determine. It's not like... So we have to take the guidelines the ministry gives us, and then we have to determine that the material is acceptable or not. We don't ask them like for every one-off sort of thing. We know the parameters that we have to work under, so we do it in-house, I guess, personally.
Okay. Councillor Lyons.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. Tyler, I just had a quick question. With regards to that, understanding that the ECA is essentially a contract between the municipality and the ministry, is there an opportunity, should council feel that it may be in the best interest of the community to amend the ECA? And if so, what sort of timelines and costs would be incurred with that?
Sure. So the last time we amended our ECA, it was a fairly quick process, but that's just because it was to add the garbage truck into it. We weren't really changing any fundamental processes. So I think we turned that one around in like a couple weeks.
Okay.
If you're looking at a more large-scale change to the ECA, because that would be like a fundamental change to the classification, it would probably be a while.
A little bit
think
longer,
like a few
yeah.
months, yeah. There are things that we're looking at, some, should we have to, or should we be able to take the material? There are some things we're looking at in terms of potential expansions through some like expedited permitting processes, so.
Okay, that's great to know. Thank you.
Councillor Knowles?
Thank you, Chair Johnson. A couple quick questions. First, now that the pipeline road is the one that's in mostly dominant use, have you noticed any illegal dumping, say around the old site or along the path between the two of them?
Not as bad as we were expecting. There's been a few bags of garbage, left out, or I should say a few loads, maybe not necessarily bags of garbage, but there's been some material left at the gate, and the police have been very helpful in helping us return that to its rightful owner.
Okay, excellent. And the second question is, has there been any progression with the MTO in regards to signage to identify that's the turnoff for the dump?
Yeah, the signs have been installed from both directions now.
Awesome, thanks.
Got a question, Jason?
Just comment. Further comment, if I may. Yes.
Okay.
To Councillor Knowles' point, and as Tyler had mentioned, signs are up for sure. But I think as in regards to the illegal dumping and that, we did expand our hours of operation, and I think that certainly helped. We have more opportunity for people to go out there, and they are getting used to the drive out there. So we've seen some positive response.
Councillor Martin?
Thank you, Chair Johnson. Hey, is there an opportunity to have a free dump day for spring cleanup, or does that happen? I'm not sure. I live out of town, so I don't know if you guys do that or not.
Yeah, we haven't done a free dump day in 6-7 years, I think. What we do typically kind of right around now is we try and open the transfer station for an extra Saturday to give people the opportunity to bring in the free items, basically, right? Your leaf and yard wastes, basically anything but garbage.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor, Mayor Ferguson, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. I see the increase in tipping fees, and that's good. Appreciate that, and the hard work that's gone into what we're doing at the landfill, and it is paying off. But seeing there's a second part of this report where we want to buy a piece of equipment for the landfill. I'm just wondering, is that money, that extra tipping fees, does that go into the general coffers, and then we want to take money out of the general coffers for the piece of machinery, because that would make sense? But do we I know when we get revenue, we put it into the general coffers pretty much everywhere. So my question is this additional money that's going to the landfill and tipping fees going into the general coffers where we approve purchases in the budget for equipment, and with that money, that is that revenue that they have generated in the general coffers where the taxation is going to be coming from?
Any comments?
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but yeah, I believe like all revenues, pretty much all just goes into the general lines. I don't believe that we're actually allowed to specifically put that revenue to one line, but I know that of course under asset management planning they talk about having these things being self-funded essentially when you're talking about the user pay things. So that's certainly there. And then obviously when we're doing our budgeting procedure, we do plan on those revenues offsetting some of our expenses. Waste management in particular, absolutely. I am of the opinion some of these increased revenues certainly help us offset this piece of equipment that we did know we were going to need, and that we did inform council of when we did get rid of the contractor out there. So there is also those savings as well from not having a contractor out pushing and covering daily as well. So we probably touch on that under the procurement one, I don't know, but.
Councillor Stimson?
Thank you, Chair
Thanks.
Johnson. Some of that money really should go, be held by the Public Works for the dump in case there's, that some of the tipping fees, in case they have to do an expansion or anything, then you're not going to the budget looking for money, and then we all know that if we have to do cuts, we all know where we head first, shoe.
And like I said, I think.
And if we have that money set aside for stuff that might have to be done, some of it anyways, I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, I think you do de facto do that through the budget process because those revenues are being accounted for through expenses, whether they be direct expenses that we're planning to incur this year or potentially putting those revenues into some sort of reserves.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
I'm glad, Tyler, that you're going back to the cells too. I noticed that they've got a new cell opened up and we're gonna go back to the cells instead of that, I'm sorry, that mess that we had, and I'm glad to see that there's gonna be some organization in that dump finally.
Yeah, it's
Very good.
having a little more control over it.
Yeah. Councillor Martin?
Thank you, Chair Johnson. Sorry, Councillor Shine, I think you had your hand up first. Did I miss what you want to buy, or can I ask that question?
So I guess we're skipping ahead.
Yeah, that's coming up. That's coming up. We can ask a question then.
Sorry.
Councillor Shine?
Yeah.
Chair Johnson. Tyler, so will you be bringing forward a report of what is acceptable to our facility once you have that sorted out with the ministries?
Well, like I said, we know it's acceptable. On a general level, we call it solid non-hazardous waste.
And so it is.
That is what is acceptable.
So when you're reaching out to these contractors, you'll be able to figure out what the potential income by allowing it is for us?
Yes. We have some high-level numbers on that already, but I'm not sure this is the.
No, I'm not expecting the answer right now, but you will be able to provide that to us when it's appropriate.
Yeah, so the idea would be if we are proven to be able to accept this, like I said, we would have those conversations with the contractor, assuming that council's okay with that, because we have had several discount requests. I'm certainly not opposed to entertaining the idea, right? So we would look at having those back and forth with the contractor, and then, of course, have to bring the final price to council. So
once your negotiations are at a level where you feel comfortable bringing a report back to us.
Yeah, and then you guys will have basically the exact number.
Thank you. Good.
Yes, Councillor Lyons.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. Clerk Bates, will we require a resolution in order to have Tyler maybe look into the amendment to the ECA and therefore, no? Okay. Okay, thank you.
Your question got answered? Okay. Any further questions? Okay, moving on. We'll go to auction procurement, and I guess that will be Tyler again, or Tyler?
That's me again. So I think this one's fairly clear. There's an upcoming auction. We haven't really had these services available in this area when the procurement bylaw was written, for sure, and even just up until recently. So there's a piece of equipment that has been that is going up for auction. It's one that we were looking at purchasing just separate, like without it being at the auction. It was one that we've been working on figuring out how to procure. I don't really want to get right into what it is, just because we're about to go to auction, and then by doing that, people are going to get our number. But I think it's kind of easy to kind of sum out what we're getting at here, just based kind of off of our last conversation and some of the equipment we've already purchased. So what we're looking to do basically is just since there's nothing for this, we just want council to approve a general equipment line budget for that and give us the permission to purchase it via auction, which again is still competitive procurement, right? We have a number in our head in terms of what we're going to bid on, which is not the number that I'm asking for here because we would incur some float charges. The idea is if we are the successful bidder, we would be looking at having that piece of equipment go to the shop right away while it's still in the city, get a service done before it comes here, and we discover any unknown issues. We would have somebody go and inspect it before we bid on it, of course.
So my fear, Tyler, is if you're close and you hit your mark, but you're close, shouldn't you take a little bit more to have a buffer?
I've done that.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, this number I'm asking, that's for us to get the equipment and get like a pretty thorough servicing done on it. So,
Okay.
And some float charges, plus maybe just a bit of buffer, because I like to come in under budget at the end of the year. So we're not leaving a lot of room on the bone if we get too far past the number that we have in our mind. But basically the number that we have in our mind is what we consider to be reasonable, and
Okay.
wouldn't really want to exceed that anyways.
Thank you. Councillor Shine?
You have not, but I have completed one a while back. So under that budget, we were looking at trying to get 300,000 for this specific piece of equipment for a fairly new unit that was in stock that we had some quotes on for budgetary purposes. The piece that's come up at auction is a bit older, so there's some considerable savings that we might be able to realize just versus, again, our draft budget, which of course has not been approved, and there's several things in there that still have to be considered, but this is just, the show must go on, and we have a good opportunity at a nice piece of equipment here.
Mayor Ferguson, you have a question?
Yeah, it's a comment. I think with all the discussion on the landfill and that we are trying to improve it, Councillor Johnson mentioned that it is getting more organized up there, and along with Tyler, in agreement there that we're doing that. There is revenue being generated well and above what we've been making in the past, as well as that piece of equipment that we're expecting the people to use up there should have been pushed over the edge in the landfill number of years ago itself. So I think Tyler makes a good case for, if we want to keep moving forward in the landfill, we had some challenges. We are getting through these challenges, and I think we need a piece of equipment that's going to be able to do the job safely and not be broken down all the time. So I would be more than in favor of giving Tyler the authority to buy something that's going to be able to do the job and not cost us more money as we're repairing that dozer up there more than we're running it. So good. I just like to say it's a good job up there, and all for, if we're going to do the work, we got to have the proper piece of equipment.
Will the piece of equipment out there be declared surplus?
Yeah, I don't want to hold on to it for anything. We'd have to see what kind of market value we think we can get out of that. I don't think it'll be very high, so it might wind up being one where it's just worth throwing it in the back 40, and if we ever need a dozer up at the airport, it's nice to have one versus doing it with the grader, but we'd have to do that financial comparison when we have some info on that.
Councillor Knowles?
Yeah, thanks, Chair Johnson. Tyler, when kind of approximately will we know if the town's a successful bidder?
By the end of the month.
Okay, great, thanks. We'll get an update then.
Any further questions for Tyler? Seeing none, we'll move on. You're a little late. No, go ahead.
It's just,
Mike?
if if my wife came to me and asked me for $140,000 to go and buy something, I'd want to know what it is. And yet I can see Public Works Director Yamaga's idea of not wanting to say what it is so that somebody else might go and snack it up. So I will support it. I will support it because if you don't have any trust in the people you hire, you know, what's the sense of doing any business? So I'm good with it.
I appreciate the confidence, Brian, I really do. I can maybe put everybody's mind at ease and give a general statement of it's something very similar to what we already have.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay, we beat that one up.
Yeah.
We'll move on to community service and get a verbal department update. You. Oh.
Similar to Tyler and the questions he was receiving regarding the landfill and decided to do an update, I have been receiving various questions and comments regarding the Community Services Department, so chose just to do a general update for you, and then happy to take any questions, and I'll do my best to answer them as we go through. So as you are aware, the Community Services Department is currently operating without a department head. And in the interim, I'm doing my best to keep operations moving forward with the support of staff, though capacity is limited. Given current limitations, I'm exploring bringing in temporary support to help manage bookings and day-to-day operations. Our current focus is on maintaining existing programs and services. There is little time or capacity to take on new initiatives or address longstanding issues that predate this absence. Having said that, I want to give you a general update on our recreation matters, and I'll work backwards. I'll go from the winter programming up to where we are now. So in regards to the ski hill, the past winter, we did once again saw a short season, but generally with good activity. It's supported by a small but dedicated group of volunteers. And as the ski hill remains, the long-term future of this facility remains a topic of further discussion. Arena, a very good season, continues to be well used by many user groups. I would consider this a community asset. Hiring arena attendants continued to be challenging to drive the ice surfacing machine, but we had a couple good employees this year that did a great job keeping the ice in good shape. And then now we're into more summer maintenance mode and getting things fixed up for next season. And Berg, who has our service contract for the ice plant, are scheduled to come, I believe, pretty soon to do season shutdown and some maintenance work on that as well. In regards to the Little Falls Recreation Center, the curling season went very well. There were some repairs to the ice plant needed. Berg again has the service contract for that, and when they come back for the servicing of the arena ice plant, they are going to do some repairs on the header, the piping of the curling rink surface. Quidco Adventure, we have a contract with that company to install and maintain the ice surface for curling. That contract is up and will need renewal. And I've already talked to the proponent and who wishes to re-enter into a renewal, and we'll bring that forward to council at a future date. The ice surface was recently used this past weekend for the Atikokan Career Fair. We've received positive feedback and was well attended. The Pickleball League continues to grow. There's been a request to add another court on the ice surface, and I believe this morning they told me they have 30 plus members, so everyone's getting into pickleball. Cohen is scheduled to be here this week for the stair lift repairs. Tyler has been tasked with that, and he's been back and forth with them and others to try and get things up and running and moving forward. And I am meeting with the LFRC upstairs leaseholder this week regarding renewal of his lease. Moving on to transportation services, our funder has approved an extension to use the remaining funds for operations or capital. And as per council's direction from a few meetings back, service levels will remain static and the same moving forward. Outdoor rinks, volunteer recruitment remains a challenge. The Hemlock Warming Rink is being used as a backup space for the after-school program when St. Pat's is unavailable. Again, the long-term future of some of these facilities remain a topic for further discussion. The White Street Ballpark, there are no capital budget requests this year from what I see. Seems like operation as usual. Outdoor tennis courts, staff plan to install the net this week. And Pioneer Center, Programming continues to run smoothly. The windows and doors from the grant program should be installed late summer. Membership is growing steadily. Their programs are very, very well attended. And Kim Cross remains an integral part of the daily operations over there. So we're very pleased with how the Pioneer Center is moving along. Regarding the golf course, memberships and cart spots sales began on May 5th, and the course officially opened this morning. We're already seeing strong usage out there. Nick Colvin is our greenskeeper this year, and he's been over there for several weeks, joined by one of the returning summer staff members, with the remaining of the crew joining us at the beginning of July once school's over. And the pro shop is staffed by our 3 returning employees and another employee as backup. So, administration is exploring options to expand the cart compound. We're having a lot of requests with that, and a lot of people own carts, so we are looking at potentially expanding that compound. Funnel Campground, we have a few RVs already on site, and the washroom's open today. It's always a challenge for us regarding temperatures. We can't turn the water on too early because we still get some cold nights, but the water's on, washrooms are opened. We do anticipate a busy season, particularly with the contractors' activity in the area. After school program, participation is strong, no current issues to report. The ministry funding and renewal agreement is on today's agenda, and Brandy will speak to that next, I believe. Charleston Recreation Group, meeting with user groups will need to be scheduled to discuss future use and requests. I know there's already a horse poker derby planned for September 5th and 6th. We're having reservations already come in for that. And the Atikoka Motocross continues to grow with a strong volunteer group. Moving on to the Wellness Center, the pool. Swimming lessons requests have come in from local schools. Discussions are underway with 7 Gens and Lac LaCroix School to coordinate possible programming next year, and also our 2 local schools as well. Staffing remains an ongoing challenge. Many of our casual staff are also swim club members, meaning out-of-town meets impact our programming. So when you see us having to cancel an evening public swim or something like that, chances are a lot of our staff are unavailable because they are out of town on a meet. Certification to become a lifeguard is time consuming, and unfortunately the way the age falls, a lot of times when we have these kids finally there, we have them for a year, maybe 2 years, and then they're off to post-secondary. So there's always that constant turnover. We do have a couple of adults who do work, but it's kind of a second thing for them, so they don't work much, maybe a shift or 2 a week. We are exploring the possibility of hiring more daytime casual staff if we're able to. But again, because I've just taken this over, we haven't jumped at hiring anyone yet until we do a full review of our staffing needs in the program. So those discussions are happening right now. In regards to capital needs, I know there's been some discussion regarding the pool deck as it is in need of repair. Temporary mats do help, but they do pose tripping hazards, and we've had the mats out there for quite a few years. The change room, the floors in the change rooms have been problematic since construction. We have applied for grants, and we've been unsuccessful in that so far. And last year we had funds, but they had to be realigned for the pump repairs as that project went over budget. So the current challenges regarding the pool deck would be the cost of the pool deck repairs, identifying possible funding sources, or if it will be in the proposed budget. But then it becomes a matter of determining who can manage the project. So I don't have anyone on staff who has any of the history on this, any of the work that's been done up to date. We're literally kind of starting over. There's also the concern of potential pool closures during that time, about how long it would be down for. So, I mean, given that this work wasn't completed when I had a full-time department head in place, I have real challenges thinking about how this could get done this year. So we are reviewing the concerns. We are seeing if there's any temporary measures that we can put in place. But we are well aware that it is a concern right now. And then finally, just staffing and interim operations. The priority is maintaining existing services. A strategic review or expansion will need to wait until staffing and oversight return to full capacity. But on a good note, our recreation summer students started today. Our cemetery caretaker started today. The remaining golf course grass cutters are going to start as soon as school's finished, and our pro shop students have been hired. And then final good note, there was some discussion and requests over the years regarding our cash handling policy at the pro shop. During COVID, we had made a decision and brought to council that, the reasoning to not take cash. And over the years, we know that there's been some requests for that. So as of today, the float went back down there, and you can use cash as an option for payment as well. Happy to take any questions.
I have a question, Jason. Excuse my ignorance, but do the cart people pay rent to park their carts there?
Yeah, so there's two different ones there. So there's electric and there's gas power. So there's a charge for the electric ones, obviously, because they have to plug into our power. And then the gas ones, they do pay an annual storage fee, yes.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. Councillor Lyons?
Thank you, Chair Johnson. Quick question about the capital needs for the Wellness Center, specifically the pool deck. I'm not thinking so much the change rooms, but that is definitely a need. I have to say that I am a regular observer and a swim club parent, and I'm at the pool regularly. I don't know how many other members in this room have been there, but it really is a major health and safety issue, that pool deck. There's been multiple times where mothers carrying their infants or toddlers have slipped or had near incidents. Toddlers have fallen and hit their head, or even the most able-bodied folks have, had near misses or fallen and injured themselves significantly. However, one of the things I wanted to bring up is I understand that it would be a significant cost for it, but I think we need to also look at the underlying infrastructure, particularly the pipes that are under the existing deck as it is, because I'm not too sure what the status of those are, but it might be a consideration rather than tearing up the deck to replace piping, maybe consider lining pipes or any sort of infrastructure upgrades under the deck itself within any grant applications going forward. And also, ideally, the best time to do those sort of repairs would probably be August, when a lot of the pool usage isn't.
See if I can reply to that. I think you perfectly just described the infrastructure in the town of Atikokan right there. So every time that, somebody wants Tyler to pave the roads because they're too bumpy, the very first thing Tyler says is, I need money to fix the pipes underneath. Otherwise, we're going to dig them up. The pool is absolutely no different to that. My fear, my challenge is that this is extremely old infrastructure. There has not been a significant investment in all of our, and again, this is town-wide. The challenge becomes is that when you start ripping all that up, it is a project that, we simply don't have the money for. The status of the deck is in need of repair, obviously, but it's been in need, right? And that's why we have the mats out there, and that's why, the lifeguards do their best to remind their patrons to walk on the mats, to be very, very careful. We certainly don't want to get to a point where if it becomes such a health and safety matter that we end up just closing the pool, right? So if it becomes a financial where we don't have the money to do it or the resources or the staff, we don't want to get to the point where, we have to look at temporarily closing that for an undetermined amount of time. So I think we're going to try as best we can is to find temporary solutions that will hopefully, create a safer environment with budgeting or planning for a more permanent fix.
Certainly, and maybe exploring additional grant opportunities as they arise.
We've been unsuccessful this far, but I mean, there are different grants out there. We'll have to just try
Yep.
a different grant. Yeah.
Councillor Shine.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. Jason, have you looked at the NOHFC grants? I see Elliott Lake got like $1.5 million for infrastructure in regards to their pool. Have we looked at that one
Sure,
yet?
like I said, my department head is off right now. I don't know what we are currently looking to. I know that we have tried for grants and we've been unsuccessful. So I do not have anyone right now on staff that can dedicate, the pool and finding the funding and do these projects.
Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. Just wanted to say, Jason, thanks for your efforts in light of you being down a person, and a lot of hard work's keeping all our recreation facilities going, and they're open, and that's awesome. This question might be more for Brandy. Talking about the ski club, on the budget line item, Brandy, there was a $24,000, number 8400, the ski club. Year to date, 24,000, prior year was $1,500. You know what,
Yeah, so, there was a big jump in labor and material and service for this year because we had snow, whereas last year there was very little.
oh, okay,
So, and that's almost every year. If you get good snow, you get big budget lines, and then the next year you budget for that, and you don't get any snow, and you don't get any.
so the people are paid that are out there, they're not volunteers then? Somebody's getting paid to be there?
Also, half of the Nordic ski.
Oh, so we also, so the path, the beaten path,
Beaten
we
path,
also
that's what
maintain
it is.
a trail system at the golf course for them, so there's money involved in that.
And for some reason, that isn't in the prior year, so either it was coded elsewhere, or,
Okay, so the ski club, oh, okay, so that's not necessarily Ski Hill, that's ski,
it's mainly ski hill, but there's also, a little bit of trail maintenance in that.
thank you.
Cross-country.
Further comment though too as well, so there's a mixture of employees and volunteer groups, so volunteer groups still play a huge part in the ski hill.
Okay, thank you. Thanks again, Jason.
Ferguson, you had a question?
Yes, thank you, Chair Johnson. Again, I'd like to reiterate what Councillor Martin said about thanking Jason for stepping up. This was something that was unexpected, and it was dropped on his lap one day, and he's been trying to do his job and look after the rest of the recreation. Also, a lot of the other department heads and different staff in the town have been taking on expanded roles too. So really like to thank those people for taking on the facilities and taking on some of the maintenance and things. So it is a big effort, but we're putting more pressure on the people that we have. And so to ask for this and ask for that, we're in a tough situation, manpower wise. We're talking about the pool deck. If it's something that's a health and safety issue, I don't think we can sit and wait until we can't use the excuse that, well, the pipes are bad underneath, so we're not doing the deck, and you use at your own risk kind of thing. So if it needs to be done, and it's a council decision, so when we're doing our budgets, and if we want to put a line item in there to repair the pool deck, then that is up to council, and that is our decision. So we can say, all the things we want, but it is on our shoulders to do this work and make facilities safe for the patrons that use it. So again, it's council's decision. It's not administration's decision. It's council's decision if they want to put that money forward to resurface the pool deck if we think that's a priority. And again, we're going to have that discussion in our budgetary meetings. And lastly, I think when we just follow up with a lot of the things that CAO Young said, it's interesting to say that we haven't raised user fees in many, many, many years for these facilities. And so when we're asking for things for these facilities, but we're using 2015 or 2017 fees for the people that are using it. I think that no recreation facility is self-sufficient. They all cost money to run, but there is an opportunity for us to gain some more revenue to kind of offset some of these things that need to be done. So again, I don't want to talk about beating a dead horse, but we do have to be modernizing our user fees. It's to brag about how we have the cheapest golf and the cheapest arena and the cheapest pool and cheapest everything for user fees, but we're going to the taxpayers for repairs and maintenance. I don't think is really fair to the taxpayers. So I think that's something we got to take a hard look at and doing, helping offset some of these recreation facilities with some user fees for the people that are using it. That's all I have.
You
And
do- are
again,
you
sorry, Chair Johnson, and then congratulations to CEO Young for making that decision on taking cash at the pro shop. It made a lot of people happy about that, and it's a good step forward. So, congratulations on that.
Are you done?
For now.
Councillor Stimson?
I'm just wondering, we're coming up here with budget meetings and that, and I'm just wondering, Brandy, could you tell me, is the budget prepared for community services?
I have a submission, yes, and then,
Okay. I just wondered if we didn't, if we had somebody who could.
yeah, so
could
there
do it.
was a budget submitted, and then I've made revisions to it, and then Jason and I will have to sit down and refine it further.
Okay, great, thank you. I just didn't want that to hold us up.
Any further questions? Hey, where the heck are we? After school program, other business. Steep Rock Rehabilitation Project.
You missed one, under community services, after school.
I'm
program.
sorry. After school report. Brandy? Really?
So this is to enter an agreement with the Ministry of Health and Promotion for our after-school program for the 24-25 season. So there's an agreement going to council. Bylaw going to council with the agreement.
Councillor Lyons?
Sorry, Brandy, you stated the 2024-25 season.
Yes,
Is it 2024-25 or 25-26?
24-25.
So the season that's just passed?
Well, it's currently in session.
Okay,
We just received the agreement.
okay.
Very slow. Some of the ministries are extremely slow.
Thank you.
Any further questions for Brandy? Okay, it's safe to move on. And we'll turn it over to Mayor Ferguson for Steep Rock Rehabilitation Project meeting update.
Yes, thank you, Chair Johnson. Councillor Martin and myself were at the meeting. I'm not going to go through everything that happened at the meeting because it was 2.5 hour meeting, and they had 47 slides, I think, that they presented with a number of people. So, to let you know what's going on right now, or what's going to be happening in this year and the next few years, is they are starting in June or July to work on the two worst areas as the water comes up in the pits. There's different areas that are affected at different times. So the ones that are closer to where the water's coming in, they have the priority to get done. So that those two that are priority are where the transformer station was at Kaylant, and where they call it the Uke shop. It's the Euclid shop. It's a maintenance shop. Those are the two areas that they're going to be concentrating on for the next 18 months, starting this summer. They're going to go right through winter, and they're going to be hauling that material to Thunder Bay. It is the highest contaminated soil that they have come across at the Steep Rock Rehabilitation site. So the transformer station has a lot of contamination, PCBs, to name one that kind of gets people's attention, and the Uke shop has a lot of oil in the ground. So he kind of for some of the people that are a little bit older, they kind of laughed and said it's kind of like a Beverly Hillbillies thing. It's not quite like Beverly Hillbillies thing, but if you shot a gun in the ground, oil might pop up. So that is where the most contamination is. As they move on through the project, I think they said there's 6 other sites that they're going to be rehabilitating as well. Those sites aren't as contaminated. But right now, the plan is for this stuff at the transformer station and the Uke shop is going to be hauled to Thunder Bay to a landfill outside Thunder Bay. It's public misconception. It's not the city of Thunder Bay taking it. It's a private landfill that's out. I think it's down Dog Lake or somewhere out in that area. So it's a private landfill that takes all kinds of things, and they have agreed to take this contaminated soil. So that material is going to be hauled for the next 18 months. Then, as they identify different areas, like I said, probably the other 6 levels that's less contaminated, and talking with the MNRF, there may be an opportunity for us to take the lower level contaminated soil. We may be more comfortable with that. The stuff that they're hauling away next month is the worst stuff that's on the site. So that's what's happening there. So it is an ongoing project. It's probably going to be going on for another 10 or 15 years uh, as it goes along. It's going to be different areas. There's going to be stuff that's the Steep Rock pit. They are not coming through town. They will be using 622, which is an Ontario provincial highway, and they will be hauling some of the stuff down 622 to Highway 11B and then to Thunder Bay down Highway 11. It won't be coming through town. They won't be using our brand new paved O'Brien Street to haul material out of Steep Rock Lake. Everything is going to go around down 622. It won't be going down, coming through town. There's also work going on at the Steep Rock Lake Dam, where big conversation was about people going fishing at upper and lower Steep Rock. There's going to be some work going on Steep Rock Lake Dam, which is going to inconvenience or shut down some of the fishing opportunities at Steep Rock Lake while they're rehabilitating that dam. So it's a temporary situation, but there will be some reduced use of the landing at Steep Rock Lake. The good note is when they are done, they will have a much better landing for the patrons that want to fish there. So there may be some time where you can't fish, but when it's complete, they will be able to launch their boat in a much safer and easier manner. There's also work going on the Wagita Bay Dam. That's another big project in Steep Rock Lake, or the Steep Rock mine site. So that's an MNRF thing as well. They're going to be rehabilitating a big portion of that dam at the Wagita Bay dam there. It's something that's been under construct or under review for a few years, and that is going to be starting in the next year or two. There's also work going to be going on in the tunnels that flow from Margaret Lake to Straw Hat Lake. Under 622, they are going to be relining those tunnels. They are showing some wear over the years, and so that won't affect the highway traffic on 622. It'll all be under the highway, working on the tunnels. So the MNRF is running this project. They're the owners. We don't own a lick of that property in Atikokan. There is a big press release a few years ago that was $60 million they were going to spend. The project is going to be substantially more than that when it is complete. Contrary to some people's belief, we didn't get the $60 million that was designated for the MNRF. So we're hoping that there's opportunities for local people to get an opportunity to work there, to maybe get some of their equipment on, to do some of the labor work out there. But it is an MNRF job. They are letting the contracts out. They are hiring all the contractors are going through the MNRF. So in the immediate future, what we're going to see in the next year to 2 years is the removal of material from the transformer station at Kayland and the Uke shop. That is the priority. It's probably going to be 2 years by the time it's finished. The road from Steep Rock is going to be used, and Tyler had a good question about the condition of the road when it's complete. The MNRF, when pushed, said that it will be in better shape than it is right now when they're complete. So that's the road to the ski hill that the Atacoca and Public Works maintain, plow. So that was one of the questions on that. So again, I could tell you what they talked about going forward for years and years and years. But the immediate work going on is those two sites at the Kayland pit or Kayland site. I don't know if anybody, that's pretty much a Cole's notes on our 2.5 hour meeting. If anybody has any questions on how it's going to affect the town or anything going forward, if I can answer, maybe Councillor Martin or Tyler might have an answer. But if there's anything that anybody wants to know going forward, this planning committee has been going on for 10 years probably, and they're actually putting shovels in the ground this year to start removing that contaminated soil.
Thank you for that, Mayor Ferguson. Will you take questions?
Yeah, I'll try to answer to my best knowledge.
Councillor Stimson?
Thank you, Chair Johnson. I'm just wondering, what's the difference between the PCBs that are going to the dump now and the PCBs that are at Kayland? That's one question. And what's the difference between taking the landfill that it's going to in Thunder Bay and our landfill? Aren't landfills landfills? We're missing out on so much money, unreal tipping fees. I don't know. I would like to have found out from Tyler how many $1 million we're losing by this going to Thunder Bay. The first original thing I heard was it was going to be going all to someplace out behind the mine and laid out, and it was going to dissipate. And then no, it was going to go to our dump, and we were going to get the tipping fees. And you know, it's like a miracle for Atacocan. It was going to be. Now we're not getting nothing, not a thing, and yet we're still getting PCBs put in our dump. What's the big difference? I just don't understand it.
Well, Tyler can speak, but I'll let you know what's going to our dump now is, and Tyler can probably have the numbers, a small amount of material that's going to our dump. If the town wants to entertain approaching the MNRF and we want to put our hand up to take this, I think it would need some public consultation and environmental more work done on the life of our pit or our dump. Yeah, you know, if that's something that council would like to entertain, that's something we could entertain. I personally, I wouldn't put my hand up to take the worst stuff. When I was talking with the MNRF, like I said, there's 6 other sites that they're going to be remediating. There may be an opportunity for to take a lot of material that isn't as contaminated as this. This is the worst stuff on the Kayland Steep Rock Rehabilitation site. The stuff they're taking out right now, and it's a huge amount. So if council wants to, and I think maybe too late to try to get this material, I wouldn't be in favor of taking this material. I would not take the first offer. I would look at the other properties and look at the long game and not taking the worst stuff. The stuff that's being hauled to our dump right now is a small amount compared to what's going to come out of Steep Rock Rehabilitation site. So again, if council wants to throw their hand up and say we'll take anything for money, that's council's decision. And I don't know if Tyler has any more things
that's what we're talking about at all.
Well,
That's not what I'm talking about at all.
that's exactly what we're talking about, Brian, because it's a lot of material. It's like I have no idea how to quantify this material and how much is, what is this, and what do the people of the town think about taking all this material from Steep Rock and hauling it across, saying it's no good to be at Steep Rock, and hauling it across the road and putting it in our landfill. So again, it's something that we can discuss. It's not my decision. The MNRF decided they were going to haul this stuff to Thunder Bay. If there's an opportunity for us, we can look at that. But again, I was saying that this project's going to be going on for years, and to take the worst of the worst stuff, I would have questions. And I'm always about going on about making revenue. Like, that's always my thing. But I would be very careful on when we put our hand up, if we're going to put our hand up for this amount of material from this site, when there's other opportunities coming down the line that's less of a contentious issue, I would think. But again, if money is the most important thing, then we can do it. We can do it ever council wants. Tyler, do you have anything else to add?
Not really, no. I just, going back to landfill operations, like we mentioned earlier, there's benchmarks for what we can accept and what we can't, and we definitely would never look at accepting anything that we can't.
Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. Thanks, Mayor Ferguson. That was a good summary of what happened. There's going to be, so the urgency is to get the waste material from the uke shop. That's going to be wet material. So the plan, from what I understood, was they're going to build a pad at the pelletizing plant at Kaland, and they're going to put all the wet contaminated soil there. They're going to build some berms and a catch pond. And so I don't believe that material is going to go out of the uke shop and straight to Thunder Bay. I think practically there's going to be a time delay where this stuff is going to leach out, I'm guessing, the oils and contaminants. So there is going to be some time. The time that they don't have is they're going to lose the road. So if they get it out of that facility, I don't think, I think time will be on our side if we want to look at that, as Mayor Ferguson suggested. The other thing that I feel is that, we're part of the problem. We had the benefit of those two mines operating there, and a lot of things we have in this town, we may be regretting some of them now. The ski hill, the golf course, the swimming pools, and all these nice things that we have were the result of the mines being here. And so, we are part of the problem, and, it would be nice to be part of the solution as well. So the double whammy here is if some of that material, maybe not from this project, but future projects, when it comes to capping the dump, Tyler can reiterate that we have to pay a contractor to come and haul material to cap the dump. So, it'd be basically a win-win if we receive some of this material, we got paid for it, and then it's free basically for us to dump. So, no, great job, Mayor Ferguson. Although they're going to move in, I really believe these are going to be a big contractor out of Southern Ontario, probably. I think some contractors, even from Thunder Bay, are ineligible on a project this size, and we're talking thousands of dump truck loads of material going down the highway. It's crazy. So, if you want to buy a dump truck, now's a good time. Anyway, thank you.
Councillor Shine.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. I would say if we want to kind of appease things, and the issues would be then what are the PCBs going to do to our health? And if you go onto the Canadian websites looking into specific PCBs, there are some significant things that can be affected by these. So maybe to put our minds at ease, to know that we're making the right decision, is there a report available that gives a report on what the PCB levels are in the soil? I don't know who would have that answer.
My question is, how much more dangerous is the PCBs sitting where they are?
That's what I mean. Like,
And they're gonna, if we haul them to the dump, they're not gonna be any more dangerous to the people of Atikokan and moving them 6 miles. It just don't make sense. It just makes sense to me for Atikokan to cash in on this, big time. Brian, I'm sorry, Councillor Stimson.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. Yeah, I just heard a little bit ago, the worst of the worst is going to Thunder Bay. No, it's not. The worst of the worst is getting laid out at the Kalen stockpile, the wet stuff. Like you just said, that stuff has been there for all these years, and I just see a cash cow that's not. I can't see it's going to hurt us putting it at the dump. I just don't. It'll be leaching out into the air no matter where it goes. I don't think Thunder Bay wants it leaching out into the air at their place. If they can handle it, why can't we? You know, it's just. We're cash strapped, you know. Anybody who thinks this town is rich is nuts. We're not. We can't do half the stuff we need to do. Not even half the stuff. We have to depend on somebody going out and procuring all kinds of grants for us to even pave a road. It just boggles my mind that I had heard that all this stuff was going to go to our dump, and as far as I'm concerned, PCBs are PCBs, and if they're sitting out there, they haven't bothered anything. They're not buried. They're not buried or anything. They're just in the ground. I don't know. It just.
Excuse me, I'll speak to that, Councillor Stimson. Is the issue is they're in the ground right now, but as the water comes up, the PCBs and the oil and everything contaminated soil is going to be underwater, hundreds of feet underwater, and it's going to be flowing into the environment and going downstream, and that's the issue why they want to remove it from the Steep Rock Lake site, because the mines are filling up about 1.5 to 2 meters a year in the Kalen pit. And Steep Rock pit's going down a little bit slower, going up a little bit slower, but the Kalen pit's filling up about 1.5 to 2 meters a year, and that contaminated soil is all going to be in the water going downstream. So that is why they want to remove it. They want to take it to a landfill. They're willing to take it, and again, if it's something that we want to entertain and put our hand up for, that's something that that council and the town of Atikokan can decide. But right now, this initial amount, and it is just part of what's coming out of there. So again, to put our hand up for the worst of the worst is again, it's our decision. It's the MNRF's decision where the material goes. If we want to put our hand up for it, and that's our decision. Yes, Councillor Lyons.
Thank you.
Excuse me?
Oh, I'm sorry.
The meeting, Jimmy.
Sorry, Councillor. Yes.
Councillor Lyons?
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. This really isn't related to the PCBs or the disposal of the waste, but with regards to the actual hauling, the exit to Highway 622, I'm just trying to get my bearings on this one. Will they be using the Wagita Bay Road that's currently in our emergency plan as a secondary access, or is it an alternate route?
They will be.
Go ahead, Mayor Ferguson.
Oh yeah, sorry, Chair Johnson. The material that they're hauling this time will be down 622, down the Ski Hill Road, turning on to 622, onto Highway 11B, and then to left onto east onto Highway 11. Any material, any other work that's going to be coming out, like I said before, will not be coming through town. There is going to be work going on the Steep Rock side, and they will be having to refurbish the Wigita Bay Road, make it wider, because from what I understand is it's pretty tough for two tandem trucks to go to meet on that road. But the MNRF is committed that they will not be hauling down 622, that waste material down, down O'Brien and through town. They will use Rifle Lake Road, I think they said. That was, I'm not as familiar with some of you other people may be, and then hauling it down 620.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to ensure that, you know, any considerations for impacts to our emergency plan and emergency exit routes were taken into consideration.
I think and that road may be enhanced. And I don't know if that is the official exit, because Councillor Martin said it's snowpacked with snow machine. So wintertime, you'd need a snow machine to access that road, I understand.
Last question on this matter, Councillor Shine.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. My question is back to what I was trying to get at, is how can we make an informed decision if we don't have the report of what the PCB levels are? I'm not debating that could potentially lose out on thousands of dollars by not going this route, but my concern is, because I work in a healthcare facility, what are the PCB levels? Are they an acceptable level for our site as well as for what could potentially get into our water system? And on that note, I'm sorry, I have to go chair another meeting.
I don't know where we would get that information. Would Tyler?
That would all be contained in the documentation that we require before we let anything in.
Okay, thank you for that.
Just to add, I don't think that was public information, that those levels, that was never presented to us, I don't believe. Correct, Mayor Ferguson?
That's right. They never present, because I think they do a grab sample on each loader, a cross section of the material that they're hauling. So the material might change by the area that they're digging in. Some of the area may be more contaminated than other places, but I don't know their methodology on determining the levels that they're hauling. Further along to Councillor Martin, I think it's kind of a moisture content thing. Some of it's going to be pretty soupy that they're digging out of there, so they want to drain some of the water, because they're paying by the ton. So they want to drain that material off, so the water is not running out of the back of their truck as they're hauling it down the highway. So that's the reason for the berms and collecting the water that comes out of it, or the moisture that comes out of it, treating it on site and having it past that so they can either haul that water or they can return it to the pit.
Jason, did you have some comments?
Final comment, if I may. In a general statement, I think, just so that council understands, whether it's a small project, you know, a couple $1,000s or millions of dollars, I think you have to understand is that we're going to look at the ECA. We're going to look at there are reports that are. This is nothing new to us. I mean, we already deal with this all of the time. The only difference is, and again, we can't accept if it's beyond the levels in our ECA. We can't accept it flat out. If we can accept it, then it becomes a discussion to council regarding, you know, staffing and quantity and whether we can take it. The actual matter of whether we can take it or not legally is already predetermined by our ECA, unless again we wanted to change the parameters of the ECA. So we wouldn't come to council with a report to say, you know, do you think these levels are okay? We would come to council to say, it is currently, based on the information we've been given, it is approved. We are approved to accept it, or we can't. So whether it's $100 load or thousands or millions of dollars, we still go through that process, which we do quite regularly. So this is just, the discussions here are just very large quantities, and I think that's why it's garnering the attention that it is. We will keep council abreast at anything that we get, and at some point, if there wants to be a resolution of council or something supporting a specific item, then we would ask that you bring it forward and we can have that discussion at a future meeting. Thank you.
So, just the last comment. When we do get down to the lesser contaminated material, we will put our foot in the door?
Yeah, I mean, that becomes a question, as Mayor Ferguson had said, is if council wants to get ahead of these projects to say, you know, we are open for business. I mean, it's no different than, you know, other statements or you know, resolutions that we make. So, yeah, I mean, if it's acceptable and we can take it, then sure, why wouldn't we?
I'd like to see us pursue that. Having said that, this meeting is adjourned. What? Do I have to sign anything? 5-minute break. 5-minute break.